It's Celebrity Friday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Morayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, YK in the building. I love the yellow and purple thingy going on.
Thank you.
YK, should I tell them what you did to what you watched at your funeral?
They have seen it on Instagram.
Okay. All right, let's move on. How you doing? How you doing, YK? Any plans for the weekend?
Even this one is... If I remove the inner blouse, I have another one like that, and that one.
Okay, there's an inner blouse.
Camiso.
Yikes.
And I was going to wear it. My partner looked at me and said, "No, please wear the camiso." I don't blame you.
No. Thank God for our
This is
work.
Baba
are celebrating
This is
like they are not money.
This is Baba Jagede or somebody else? Baba Jagede now, wow. This
Baba
sewing
Jagede
cleavage for year 60.
Baba Jagede is
Baba
old.
Jagede.
The person they are sewing for is
and
they are both sewing fashionable.
Baba Jagede go only low.
Anyways,
Please leave Baba Jagede, I beg.
how you doing, YK?
I'm fine. I have no gist.
No plans for the weekend?
Very painful.
Plans? No,
Tomorrow, Saturday, what are you doing?
Tomorrow, I have one of my school friends. Her son is getting married, so I'm going for that tomorrow.
Nice.
That's planned.
Regina is going to do so. I'm going to post it on Instagram.
Just don't wear that cleavage the thing you want. YK wear a serious cleavage to burial. We knew that dead body would have just woken up.
She's
The
celebrating.
challenge is why she doesn't even understand that that her cleavage is showing. Like, she doesn't see it. So it's you that you look at that and you be like, but YK? She'll be like, what? Where? What is it? What are you seeing? You don't even see it. So,
but anyways,
like,
but you're beautiful, YK. You are
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Honestly, you are the goal.
I'm trying to take a more sexy
60
away from
goal.
Omotola.
You are the goal for 60. If I look like
Let
this
me
at
come
60,
to you
I'm
very
good.
quickly. How you doing?
Today is Sister's Day. Today is my elder sister's birthday. And I'm wearing this from my younger sister as well.
Nice.
So I'm just enjoying sisters. I'm just thinking about
I
them.
don't have sisters.
Don't worry, you'll be all right.
Be all right.
Because they have their plus and minus as well. I must
Yes,
not
we
say
are your
that
sisters,
until-
Tokwe.
Yes. I feel very blessed to that.
Yes, so
I have extended.
just like we have our clashes as well. So it's the same thing on the blood side.
Moriah, that is a girl amongst all boys.
She's a pampered princess, the princess.
Excuse me, please speak English.
We're looking for your sister. No,
Officially,
I don't have any child. I'm an only child. But Mariah is like...
I'm the only girl, yeah. But
Amongst a set of boys.
I know. We're just like, so what? So what? So does that
what
mean?
is the French in that one now?
I just thought maybe you're saying something else. Anyway, Tokwe, how you doing?
I'm
This
fine.
project is hitting you.
YK,
fast,
speak about your own stuff. You're almost 60.
Fast. So, you see, Moriah, she's going fast lane. You know when you will be abusing elders,
it's becoming
quick. It's fast lane. She's wearing glasses now.
Switch. You need to start complimenting YK more.
She's wearing glasses now.
YK, you're beautiful.
She's forgetting.
Yes.
She's now not hearing.
YK,
On Monday, she'll say, thank God it's Friday.
Just let her finish.
you're beautiful, YK. You will live long. You see your children's children.
4, 5, 6.
No, don't not turn it to curse.
There's no one to lead to where she cannot go to the
Oh my goodness, today I have a birthday shout out.
Okay, please, okay, go
You know, I'll be, like I always say, I'm married to a blessed family. My husband's eldest brother's name is Clem Odige, and today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Mr. Clem. Thank you so much for being a big brother, and you know, thank you for all the sacrifices. When my husband's elder, the one who did 50th this year, was talking about the sacrifices Clem made for the family, he was crying. A 50-year-old man was crying that, Clem, I need to appreciate you. You paid the price for us to go to school and for us to live the life.
Happy birthday, Uncle Clem. Fantastic.
Okay, let me quickly mention the name of my sister. Because the Khadija Sani Akohia now. Because we were Akohia, but she's married to the Sanis. Today is her birthday, and I love you very much. Thank you for being the bully sister back in secondary school.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Now that you're
going to school.
I cannot believe who we have in the studio.
As
like
in
my body is just shaking.
legendary.
First of all, we had a Omotola this morning. I had to farms, I'm sorry. And there's another legend, in fact.
Legends
this woman
of
is
all
somebody that
legends.
I looked up to growing up. I'm like, wow, this is an amazing woman. So I'm so excited to have her in the studio. But first, let me comport myself so that I don't disgrace you, ladies.
I'm sending her to school. Another school, not the one she's going to, another school. I've discussed it with her this morning about the school that...
All right, we'll be right back. Let's go on the break. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. We're starting with the nation. So that's where the stories we're going to take. Why Southwest deserves Development Commission. Nigeria, others raise team on border closure. ICPC freezes 12.9 billion naira in MDA's accounts. Oyetola represents 119.5 billion naira 2020 budget plan. And Dakolo's rape case empty, says court. Okay, so Southwest is saying that they need a development commission. I think last week or this week we talked about Southeast. I think the bill was sponsored by Stella Odua. Now, the Southwest are also saying they need a development commission, that each of the regions, as much as everybody is supporting Northeast, they also feel like Southwest should also get a commission for infrastructure development, not just for Lagos, but for the entire region. That's pretty much what that story was saying.
I think we're just fighting for money.
Who has the Dakolo story?
Okay, Busola Dakolo's matter was struck out by the court for being out of time. So it was caught up by the Limitation Act, and first of all, she filed a civil matter. And civil matters, of course, are covered by limitation.
Right.
We do not have criminal matters covered by limitation. And if only the police would find a case worth, filing, prosecuting, maybe then should have justice. But based on the preliminary objections filed by the pastor's lawyers, it was struck out.
Okay.
Not that, the court is not saying it didn't happen.
Right.
The court is simply saying,
very important.
You shouldn't have brought this before.
And it's important that we clarify that because of young girls who may have gone through this kind of things from different people, knowing that, listen, justice can still be served in that kind of situation. So if you find yourself in that situation, the earlier you report it, the better.
But this kind of cases fly abroad because they find ways to do it.
Yeah.
The Bill Cosby's case and all those other cases.
It wasn't a civil case.
Bill Cosby was criminal. But even civil fly. R. Kelly and co. Some of those civil matters fly.
Right, because
they have ways to look for it.
R. Kelly is in criminal court.
Now,
it's not civil.
The point Nima was trying to make is just like they have ways of finding all this forensic evidence to back up these claims. That's what she was just saying. So that's the real point. Moving on to the Punch. Let's see. Lagos residents lose lots of property to fire. Robbers kill cops, injure others during Lagos robbery. Reps OK compulsory genotype test for intending couples. Customs to raid markets for smuggled rice. Reps kick as NIPOS denies collecting stamp duty. Shomole APC statement asks governors to sack DG. And border closure, petrol, diesel imports drop. Okay, so they're now making sure that every couple must compulsorily do a genotype test. And that's because of the sickle cell.
I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a good thing.
I was going to talk about the robbery at the Falomo Bridge.
Yes, go ahead.
According to the papers, the police had watched. The armed robbers had been watching the guy come out of the bank with a bag of money. So they just waited for him. But that one was very smart. When he got into his car, he put the bag of money under the seat and just left the phone and his laptop, I think, inside the bag. So when the robbers said, give me your bag, he just gave them the bag.
So they thought they got the money.
They took one way, and then the police intercepted them. The gun battle ensued, and
so they caught them.
They
didn't catch them. They killed the police officer.
Oh,
they didn't catch the.
But they didn't get the money.
But the money was under the seat.
Oh, that's good. I wanted to talk about the story of rice. The Taraba and Adamawa Taraba customs have said that they've given a notice that they are going to be raiding foreign rice within that environment. I still saw foreign rice being sold in Lagos, and I'm wondering,
very expensive.
Can we just stop this? Because any foreign rice you see got smuggled and is destroying our economy.
There's some people that actually had foreign rice in their like warehouses.
Right, it's been banned for a long time. Every foreign rice has always been smuggled.
Somebody I know just offloaded foreign rice.
That's
this was like 2 days ago.
Don't say somebody you know before they come and ask.
No, somebody I know. I went somewhere. No, not somebody I know. I went to a store and they were actually just stocking up.
They're taking you for interrogation.
They are smuggled. Those rice are smuggled.
You were somewhere in Janakwaja.
Don't dig it deeper. Please don't buy smuggled rice. We can't verify how they are made. Buy local Nigerian rice.
Come and buy my rice.
Anyway, you brought my rice today. So I'll get my rice from you today. Okay, Daily Sun. Let's find a story. Edo APC crisis twisting Oshomole Obaseke rift. More trouble for Dasuki. SAA we have nothing to hide, says OMS Chairman Akumbo. Ebonyi SSG bars the Sun correspondent from Government House. Okay, nobody has any updates on
Closure. I have the
border closure. Go ahead, please.
Story. So, according to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Onyema, the Nigeria, Benin, and the Niger Republic are going to have a joint border patrol now. This is in response to the border closure, of course, and they've been meeting to deal with issues that, of course, their borders are that disturbs these three countries that they share common interest, and they've agreed at that meeting to flag off a new border control. So we'll see the details.
Okay, so this Edo crisis, I mean, now that Obaseki was suspended, Ashimole is suspended, I don't understand how we're going to get...
Who suspended?
We're told that the APC chairman in the DG actually was saying that they have to suspend Ashimole.
Even the DG now has been suspended.
The DG has been suspended.
I recommend his suspension.
In fact, let's move on to Daily Trust because I don't want to get involved in that Edo matter.
Edo people.
I've told you.
Daily Trust, I think that's our last paper. High Court sacks APC candidate. Let's see. Let's find the story. I hypnotized my victims with charms before robbing them.
Yes, sir.
Hope you have that story.
Yes.
No going back on social media regulation, says federal government. And El Rufai kneels. Okay, let's take the regulation.
So no going back. The Minister for Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, on Thursday said, while he was meeting with the Guild of Corporate Online Publishers in Abuja, is that we're not going to do this alone. They're trying to find a way to work with a corporate body that represents online publishers, and saying that other countries are already doing this. There's a list: Germany, UK, Singapore, China, South Korea, Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia. All these countries have already created a form of regulation for social media, and he's saying that we have to create a strong campaign against fake news.
And he reminded us that they're not actually clamping down on free speech, because many people are making it look as if that's what they're doing. That no, people can criticize the government, it's within their rights to do so. However, what they're against really is hate speech and fake news. Right. So the hypnotized my victims, what's that about?
So a young man, Monday, his name
Francis,
was caught by Lagos State SARS, and he's a pickpocket. And he says that he's been a successful pickpocket for 2 years using charms, that he has a touch and go ring that was given to him, and that when he puts it into the body, touches the person that he wants to pick their pocket, they will be unsuspecting, and he's made about 3 million from this business.
24-year-old.
Confessed, yeah.
So do you really believe this, that he's using... He's just a smart guy.
He believes that it is the touch and go charm that was given to him by the person.
Sometimes people fall victim, and they wonder how they lost such valuables. They wonder how they didn't notice, that movement on their body. So I think...
And okay, so final paper, this is the Nigerian Tribune, and I have to mention that Nigerian Tribune will be 70 tomorrow. Wow. It was established since 1949. And it's exactly 70 years tomorrow, and they'll be commissioning a new building on the Lagos-Ibadan Highway. And I mean, this is a huge success. 70 years. It's a privately owned newspaper that's been working for 70 years. That's what we call generation to generation. So
we're hoping to see marking 100 years.
Founded by the sage.
Unfortunately, that's all we can take on Front Page Review. When we come back, our guests will join us for all the hot topics. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Yeah. Thanks for staying with us. So before we get into our conversation, I'm really excited to invite with us a journalist per excellence, a woman we love, a woman we respect, a woman we admire, who she was the host of New Dawn on NTA, and she's gone on to do so many amazing things. Welcome with us, Funmi Iyanda. So we'll still introduce you properly. I just had to say that just to our viewers to know that you're in the building. How are you feeling this morning?
Good.
Great to have you on. Okay, so we're going to start with our first topic, and we'll hear your thoughts on it. Now, before we run into that topic, I'd like you to address the Busola Dakolo story very quickly. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. The judgment is out. Social media has gone crazy. Everybody's saying this, saying that. And it's important we don't lose focus on what this is about. So I'd like you to speak to young people who are being ripped for whatever, they're being ripped at right now, and they feel discouraged by this judgment. So I'd like to speak to them so they know exactly what this is about, and hopefully give them some kind of hope that, okay, they can still get justice.
I think that we focus a lot when we're talking about rape on women, when we should focus on men.
Right.
Because usually it's the men doing the raping. And they rape not only women, they also rape men. And I think that, you know, the issue of rape is not a sexual, it's not a sexual crime, it's a power crime. You will not rape somebody who is either bigger than you, who has more status and power than you, can punish you for what you do. So it means that it's not a natural thing, it's an unnatural thing. And so I think that the things that encourage, the culture that encourages rape has to be addressed. Also the sort of mentality and things that get into the kinds of people who commit this crime also has to be addressed. But as you have said, I think that a lot of people have either been raped, and a lot of women have been raped. I think once we had an event and we started talking confidentially amongst the women who were there, and 90% of the women who were at this age, from age 17 to 70, had been raped at one point in their life. So it's a big deal for the men to, these are your brothers, these are your sisters, these are your wives, these are your daughters, and sometimes your brothers and fathers too. So I think we need to do something about it. Regarding the case, I think there's a difference between justice and law. You know, and oftentimes they don't always meet, and sometimes it takes time. So people should, there's a fixation on celebrity. So we think, oh, if this celebrity, if it happens, if it doesn't happen like this, then things are falling apart. No, what she started just by coming forward has started something that would, you know, that would have results even in years to come. So nobody should be discouraged.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. All right, so a lady has taken to her Twitter page to reveal these crazy conditions given to her by her boyfriend before they get married. Part of the conditions are as follows. First, quit your job. Move with me to the village. Stay with my sister. You help us access, help us with our property, manage our property. Now, what are your thoughts on this? Some say, hey, he's being real. Take it or leave it. Others say, how can he say that kind of thing? This 21st century. What are your thoughts? You can call us on 070-806-6814. You can also tweet us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag your TVC so we can read your tweet. All right, so let's come to this conversation on men making demands of young ladies. Okay, if you want to marry me, you have to do this, you have to do that. Let me cut that with Nima on your thoughts. When you heard this, what came to mind?
I laughed. Because it's simple, men deserve what they get in the end when you get a pretentious woman that, you know, she turns into a monster on you. Because for you to demand this is saying to her, if you're a good actress, act. There's nothing to access. Those days when women would kneel down, come to your house, Mommy, I feel Jackie, those days have gone. Women did it so well that even mothers now are afraid of a good girl when they see one. You are too good to be true. Show me your bad side. So a man who asks a woman to do this deserves what he gets in turn. Because number one, even if she was a good girl, and then she goes through hell to finally marry him, she might not be a good wife just because of vengeance. So you push her to that limit, you test her, you
But
do all
there's some
sorts of
women
things.
that actually love the idea that, you know what, listen, I just take care of me. I'm at your mercy. I have nothing, maybe I'm an orphan, I have nothing else to live for. You are taking me, no problem, I'll follow. So those kind of women, if they hear you talk, they are wondering, what's she talking about?
Why are we having conditions to get married? Like, why are there conditions? Why is he giving conditions to someone he wants to marry? Why do people do this? Why do they turn the woman into feeling like marriage is a prize for you? That's why they will say you're not showing you can take care of me, and the woman will now be going overboard trying to show that she can take care. Why have we placed marriage as such a prize that people are willing to die and do inhuman things to become Mrs. Somebody? Why are we doing this to ourselves? I don't get.
But this man has openly said, listen, this is what I want. Wouldn't you rather a man be upfront and tell you, listen, I want a cook. Can you cook? Okay, I want this. And wouldn't you rather a man that tells you up front and then you know what you're getting to? But what if you're raised by your mother to be a cook for your husband? But like all you did all your life.
I was raised to be a cook, but I hate cooking.
And that is you. Somebody else might love it. Let me come to you, for me, your thoughts on this.
I mean, I start by saying that this is not a conversation with me. I'm a happily unmarried woman. Always have been, always mostly will be. It's a choice. And what I would say is, for me, beyond marriage is for women and also men in particular is, why is this about, why is this an if a woman accepts this, it means that she doesn't want to take responsibility for herself. So that's not taking care of her. That's choosing to put your own responsibility on another human being. And to do that, what you said was so smart, because it means that she's subsumed herself to fool him.
But what of Sylvia, let me come to Sylvia Ukatu, who said that a woman should be willing to be the second or third wife. That listen, you need a man over your head. That's what this woman did. She's an actor. She said that as an advice, that single ladies should give themselves a man, or even mean being the second or third wife, because a woman needs a cover. Is that correct?
I just want women to be people first. And so as a human being, what have you come to earth to do? If it is you have come to earth to come and serve a man, good on you. If it is that you have come to earth to come and do all sorts of things, to cook beautifully so that people will pay you for cooking beautifully, to dance so that young girls are inspired the way I was when I used to watch Yeni dance, you know, because when you're losing your body, you're losing your mind. She actually transformed, because we don't talk about, and this for me, I was going to talk about it, because when Fela dancers were doing the dance, it was much more, it was a slower movement. When she came, she transformed that dance. The kind of twerking we see in the world now, that has become black culture, she started it, because they were the one that started the faster rhythm. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that's when we started doing that dance like that, and that's when the waist movement also changed. That anywhere else in the world.
Why can't taught us how to dance with our waist? Like, she took us to classes.
Look, this thing is not just, this is art that she has done. This is art and science she put together. This would have been something that would have been in research books. That's what we should be talking about. I do not want to, I don't want to talk about what a man wants.
Okay, now let's
talk about what I want.
I want to drive it.
Go to this post that bothered me, because he said, go to my mother. That's one woman. So how women ensure that the culture of abuse of women continue. He said, you have to go to the village to live with my mother, sweep the entire compound for my mother to access you. And then she said, my sister too would assess you, but when you live with her, help her with school runs, she goes to work, and you take her children to school and cook for them, she would assess you. So he's not subjecting her.
I think somebody
this is a conversation. Because we've seen it in movies, and script writers will put it in a script and it will turn out in movies. I don't want to mention the particular speaking movie.
I can't even comment on this thing, because it's not something I can put myself.
So let me come back to Funmi Iyanda, because she's our guest here, and I'd like to get into your head a bit. You said you're a happily unmarried woman. Tell us what that means, because a lot of young people feel that, as she said, it's the price to get married. That's the thing. Ultimate go for every young lady. You are 18, 21, and I'm wondering, who are you dating?
Get married.
That's the first thing. I have always advocated for, you have no business getting married till like you're 27, 28, because I feel like you should have done a lot of things. But people say, oh, no, you can be mature at 21, which is fine. But I like to understand how a happily unmarried woman is living.
Like this. I mean, I think that, look, I have nothing against marriage. I think I have friends who are beautifully married. I have some who are not as happily married. You know, I have friends who are happily unmarried. I have friends who are unhappily unmarried. So, you know, it's different from person to person. The point I am trying to make is that marriage should not be a goal for men or for women. There are many things you can do with your life. So now marriage is not the same thing as companionship. You know, many people are married, they are not companions to one another. So if you were able to find that lovely mixture where you are a companion and also married and all of that, fine. And then marriage is different from culture to culture. In some culture, once you have a child together, you are married, whether you like it or not. In some cultures, different kinds of people can marry. So what I'm trying to advocate is that you choose who you are. You have one life. One life. You know, and this is a gift. This is a divine gift to do something meaningful with that life.
Fantastic.
Which can include having children. You know, but that is not, in my opinion, the ultimate goal of life.
Fantastic. All right.
You see, and everybody has, oh, sorry, go on your book.
No, I'm going to come back. We'll take your point. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Yes, she is a Nigerian talk show host, broadcaster, journalist, somebody we admire. Join us again. Funmi Iyanda in the building. Right, so let's talk about you for a moment. What have you been up to? You've been in the UK. you were totally,
beautiful
you have a beautiful,
daughter.
amazing daughter. We just didn't see you around. You're like, where
have a
is Funmi
production
Iyanda? We're just hearing about
outfit.
cassava, something about cassava.com, something like that. Tell us, what have you been up to?
I mean, I've never stopped working. I love working. I think that one of our rules, things to do in life is to work. I intend to work till God takes me home. So I didn't stop working. I just think that people expect me to be on TV talking in the morning. And so that's what they want to happen. After New Dawn, I did, as you said, chop cassava.
Yeah.
I started doing more like documentaries because I was going to head towards film anyway.
Right.
So I started a company in the UK. I went to the UK because my daughter went to school in the UK.
Okay, so you
and
had to
she's
be
my
close
only
to-
daughter.
Right.
And as you know, I'm unmarried. So I needed to be there with her. So I
Right.
started going and coming.
Right.
And it made sense to start a production company in the UK. By the way, everything I've ever done from New Dawn and all that were all owned by myself. So people used to think I was employed by NTA. No.
Wow.
I started my own production company when I was 24.
Wow.
And I've always had one. You know, so then I decided I was going to locate one in the UK so that I can do the same thing, you know, basically make productions and also do events. And we've done a number of things, quite a number of productions. We've been nominated for many awards.
Yes,
You
yes.
know,
I was actually very impressed with the chopped cassava because you did a documentary on the protests that we had there, and for some reason it wasn't shown in Nigeria. What was that about? It had to be shown outside the country. Tell us about that.
I think it was, because it was designed as a web series, it was always going to be online anyway. I mean, the TV stations could have shown it, but they chose not to.
Right.
You know, for various reasons at the time. It didn't really bother me because I also knew that TV, as we knew it, was shifting, it was changing.
Yeah.
You know, and things would change rapidly. The past 10 years have been very destructive. You know,
Yes.
for good and for bad.
Yeah.
And I think one of the challenges with even things like fake news and all of that is because we're still trying to understand. We're sort of like, and it's a global thing, it's not just Nigeria. You know, where do we put some sort of control? Where do we put, you know, all of that is happening.
I want to ask you a question, many questions, loads of questions, because I grew up watching you, and it is, while some look at Oprah, I saw you. And I think that we're not highlighting that enough. So we still see many Nigerians looking at Oprah. We have someone. But I heard you talk about the sacrifice, the move to spend time with your daughter. And as women, we struggle. We struggle with flying high with our careers and all that, the dreams we want to achieve, and the price we pay as mothers. And I want you to walk us through, why did you make that sacrifice? Would you say it was worth it leaving TV and going into behind the scene because of your daughter? Was it because of your daughter alone? And how has that journey been? So
I want to make this very clear. It was not a sacrifice, it was a choice. I think that oftentimes we deliberately position women as victims. It was not a sacrifice, it was a strategic choice. Right. I left New Dawn because I'd done 8 years of morning, 3 hours, then to 1 hour. I was tired. I wanted to do something else with my life. I had done that. I thought at that time New Dawn was done. It was time to move on to something else. And I was going to, whether I was in the UK or was in Nigeria, I was going to start doing the kind of things I was going to do. Going to the UK, as I said, it was a strategic decision. Be half-time there, be half-time here, so that I can also take the time with my daughter. I'm a Yoruba woman. We don't separate things. In that way, you will see the Yoruba woman, she will put the baby on her back and she will go to her enterprise. In Yoruba land, you are regarded as a woman on the basis of your enterprise and motherhood. And you do not have to be a natural mother to be that way. That's why you have Yalata, Yalasho, ya this, ya that. I have that mentality. So for me, as far as I was concerned, I was putting my baby on my back and going to work. Right. It's just that the nature of work and the environment of work had changed. You know, and I think that is important for people to get into their mind, because they say to us that, oh, you can't be everybody. You're not required to be everything. You're required to organize your life, including, if you want, your husband, if you marry one, you know, so that it works also for you. You matter. I think that all of this conversation for me, particularly as a woman, is that we seem to think we don't matter as human beings.
I observed that you didn't really get into that whole glam squad. You were just so real and natural. That was one of the things that endeared a lot of people to you. And that's one of the reasons why, well, I also admire that personally from you, that because when there was so much pressure to be all glammed up, and I keep remembering, Funmi Iyanda didn't have to do that. People still respected her for who she was.
And what she was bringing to the table.
And what she was bringing to the table. So you were real as real can get. Now, I would like you to look at that with other people today, where they have to, there's so much plastic out there. People just want to be this foreign face, physical, their physique, the way they talk, the way they are, everything about them is very foreign. Now, do you think that is what is marketable, that we should sustain that, or do we bring it back to the original? I mean, what do you think of today's media space?
I'll start from the Oprah thing. You know, people used to say, oh, you're Oprah of Nigeria. I mean, I had never seen an Oprah show when I started television. Never did. I'd never seen it. So when I saw it later, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And that's really nice. You know, so I would say that for me, I did not go onto television for any other reason, because I thought that really the things, I wanted issues to be put forward. So I wanted to be a journalist. I said to my father when I was young, I was going to be a journalist, and he said to me, you will get killed, because we always thought of Delegiwa, you know, at that time, your mouth is too big. You know, I did end up in the media. And so I think that underscores what you're saying, because there's a lot of pressure on people to perform. And to put themselves forward as almost what I call performing monkeys, rather than to put the issues forward. That's not to say that, you know, the external is not important, but you just have to balance it. However, I think that in terms of Nigeria, I think we don't see ourselves and we don't value ourselves. Nigerian accents, people consider it sexy everywhere in the world. Yes, you know, everywhere I go, people want to hear me talk. And they're like, oh, you know, they always say, oh, that wonderful Nigerian woman, that wonderful Nigerian woman. And I walk it, you know, and I speak.
Clearly love that.
And, you know, and so I think that is to develop a sense of self and a sense of value. Our culture is great. Our ideas, our philosophies, our religions, you know, they're all of great value.
I'm glad you have gone there. You are a woman after my heart. The reason I'm going to say that is, I'm saying that is the naturalness one in you. The pride in who you are as an African woman in you is what I'm seeing. You know, I'm seeing, and you don't have to wear the wigs. I'm not abusing anybody on this table. I'm just saying you don't have to wear the wigs, to look like Oyinbo with an African face. You don't have to have that accent. Right. Because I live in London and my accent has to change. You don't have that. You know, please help me talk to these ladies of Nigeria about being proud Africans. Not proud Nigerians now, proud Africans. Please, just help me.
I think that it's a really complex issue. I think we don't understand what colonization, slavery, and all of that did to us. You know, what it did to our mentality, where we just don't think we're... So sometimes when I do certain things, people will say, you learned it from Oyinbo. I'm like, no, I learned it from Yoruba land.
Thank you.
You know, because civilization is not westernization. Civilization is civilization. And there are different types of civilization. We have Igbo civilization, we have Yoruba, we have Hausa, you know, different versions of all of that. And we need to find ourselves, because you see, it doesn't matter what we do when you pretend to be other people. They can see through you.
Exactly.
They know you are not one of them.
Exactly.
And that automatically puts you at a disadvantage.
Thank you.
To start with. You know, so already they just say you you have to imagine this in your head, that if you saw Oyinbo today, Oyinbo carry agbada, carry drum on top of it, and trying to speak Yoruba. You might, at best, you will tolerate him, but you will never respect him.
Thank you.
You have to see that that's how they see us. You know, and it's not because they're actually being wicked. It's because that's how we have positioned ourselves.
Let me jump in here.
Me, I just need to go to your past, because at the time in my life when I was really confused about whether I was correct, I don't have an accent. Even if they use iron sponge, I cannot grow it. It's difficult for me to mimic or pretend to be someone else. And I was confused because constantly I kept being corrected, you're not conforming. I would watch your show and you'd be unapologetic about a Yoruba food, a Yoruba name, a Yoruba form of exercise with the other man at the time. I would be like, there must be something that I must be proud of about myself. A lot of young girls are watching this show, and we've been able to change mindset, start narratives, start conversations, do a lot of things for people. A lot of young girls out there who are watching us, who are feeling I'm in second class because I'm not meeting up, because I need you to talk, because initially when I was coming on the show, I just wanted to pick from your background. Maybe something happened in your childhood, maybe something that made you discover yourself early to the point that you could own your own show early and, you know, achieve things and change someone like me from being apologetic about being an Esako woman Do you understand? It was from those kind of conversations that I would speak my language whenever I'm conversing with someone who is not from my place and be like, okay, I would interpret for you later, but I don't owe you to speak it right. I'm Nigerian. I should be able to eat with my hands like the Chinese would do with a chopstick and not be apologetic about it. It was that discovery. So what exactly is it about you that...
Background or something.
Your background, your childhood that, you know, that worked that magic on you?
Was it your mother? Was it your father?
Was it your
environment?
I think it's a combination of things. I'm first to say to you that one of the reasons why you couldn't speak in a fake accent, and it is fake, because there are different layers. Just like you have in Yoruba, you have like different Yoruba, whatever, the English. And you know, we're talking English now.
Yes,
there's the Welsh, there's the Scots, and then there's America. It's confusing. Okay. One of the reasons why you couldn't do it is that you are too intelligent. You know, if you are highly intelligent of a certain way, and you couldn't fool, because to do that you have to fool yourself. You understand? You have to fool, because if you can hear yourself, you can see yourself, you'll be like, man, I'm being silly. And just stop it. You know, that sort of thing. So I would say to you, because I hear you talk and I hear your mind. You know, and that mind is not going to be distracted by other things. As to me, why I'm like that, I mean, frankly, I don't know for sure. Some of the things I would say when I look at it, because people ask me these questions a lot, I say, you know, my father was a really, really special man. He didn't raise me any different from my brothers, because I grew up with my brothers. He didn't raise me any different. And it's important what you were saying. I also didn't have female influence. You know, I think that sometimes women, you know, they imbibe patriarchy and they pass it on. So nobody told me I must do anything for anybody. I grew up with my brothers. And my father said, if you do this, Aduke can do this, Olumide do this. So in my own mind, we're the same. You know, so my father did that. My father also, because my mother died when we were quite young, I saw my father take care of us. My father used to put my brother on his back. You know, my father also talked a lot with us. He wasn't the kind that would just be beating you. He didn't beat me in particular. And he would talk with me. So I learned that my mind mattered. And my mother, even though she died very young, always instilled in me that I was valuable. You know, she wanted me to become many, many things. And I remember that she would say that to me. And then I was also deeply curious. You know, I read voraciously because I was a shy child. So I read voraciously and I had a really vivid imagination. I think that all of those things come together to help you. And there was a lot of adversity also growing up.
I want to take you up on, we had a discussion yesterday about blow and grow and this new age where we want to have this materialism, you know, we want to have money. And you touched on it during the break. You mentioned the fact that this society actually puts you in that space because things don't work. So you feel under pressure to make something out of yourself, because if you leave it to the government, then you are on your own. So can you help us find the balance? You've lived here full time and then you've lived in a developed country. How do we find that balance here with this environment, not to get so desirous of blowing, and rather process our growth and see how we can achieve it?
Okay, and the first thing, I say we should be empathetic towards one another. You know, we should have sympathy and empathy and love towards one another. It's hard what we have dealt with. And we cannot speak only of now. The history is long. This is a post-traumatic society. We have not faced up to the fact that we, as a generation, we are in some sort of trauma. Right from slavery to colonization to military dictatorship and to what we are now. The combination of all of that and what it has done, and exactly, and what it has done in terms of even the opportunities, the institutions and structures we have, they still remain one that is restrictive. Because you must remember, when the country was developed, or when it was put together, it was meant to hold people and the society down so they can extract what they want out of it. So the leadership that replaced that still does that extractive thing, you know? And what it does to people is that it limits us. So even on an existential level, we feel like we are in a box. And that's part of why even the film that I did, I said to people, what the message for me at the end of the day is that free yourself. I think it's time for us and Nigerians have vibrant, powerful, beautiful people. We just don't fully realize it. The day we realize it, it will change. Even our government. And what is our government? It is us. They are our brothers and our sisters. And you have to get to a point where you say to your brothers and your sisters and your mother, wait, Ewambi, come. We cannot do this anymore.
Let's go on a break.
Okay.
We're going to quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So Waiki had a tweet you want to take? Go ahead.
Yes, and I need you to just answer the person. Please, I'm sorry I have to speak my mind. I think Funmi Iyanda is portraying a kind of feminine mentality. This type I've noticed more recently that plays down marriage a lot. She's played that marriage more or twice on the show so far. She's played down marriage more or twice on the show so far in a wrong way. I need you to answer this person because in my ears, you didn't play down marriage. And she is hearing it, or he, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, hearing it in a different way. So please, just help me address that person.
I value the person's Oluyomi. I value Oluyomi's opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. I don't have to agree with it. I think that the problem with social media is that we give equal value in weight to everything that everybody says. If I saw Oluyomi to face, I will be able to access whether I should be in the position to be talking with him on that level or not. There are some people that don't have the capacity to understand what you are saying at a certain level. And so you are not meant to be shouting at them or getting angry at them. That is the level at which he understands it. And I think that his opinion is valid. It is not the same as mine, and we're entitled to having different opinions.
Let me come to something you said earlier, which got me. Because recently I had an aha moment where I told myself, who am I? I asked myself, and I was able to define, I am the daughter of this person. This is my mother. This is who she stood for. This is what she stands for, and this is where. And you said something about being a Yoruba girl. And it dawned on me that I think we must begin to first accept who we are from that cell level, that nuclear level. Once we accept and appreciate who we are, before we can begin to start accepting my Igbo brother or my Shekiri sister.
It starts from within.
It starts from within. And I'd like us to talk about that because it seems as if recently also Larry Olusha was talking about identity. Who are you? He's been telling everybody to, let's go back to define ourselves. Let's talk about this issue of identity. And you said we should empathize with each other. So if I'm going to empathize with the next door person who totally has this negative attitude towards the average Nigerian, can you help us have that thinking of redefining ourselves or finding who we truly are?
Finding who you are is a violent process. I call it a violent process because it's not comfortable. Because you have to confront your own weaknesses and your own strengths, the ways in which you fail. And when you do that, you have to look at yourself instinctively, with honesty and say, what am I in charge? Because what you want to do at the end of the day is take power back for yourself. So you know what you are in charge of for yourself. And on the basis of that, you feel, because oftentimes when people attack other people like that, it comes from a feeling of inadequacy and insecurity on their own part. So if you are able to take charge of your own fears and your own insecurities, you can deal better with another human being. The other thing I would say is that we are all connected. This is why our own philosophy, original philosophy, matters, because we are very much close to nature. And we also understand the role of ancestors because we know that we don't die in the ways that we think that we die. So if you thought that way, then the idea of harming another person in that way, you begin to rethink it. That does not mean you make yourself unduly vulnerable, but then the other person is not automatically your enemy. That other person too has their own concern, so that you understand what their concern might be, to be able to marry it with yourself if you need to deal with them. So yes, the identity issue is critical, but finding who you are, either as a person, as a collective, and as a nation, is the core of everything. And that is not an easy process. You have to have comfortable conversations with yourselves and amongst yourselves.
Fantastic. Let me take this call. Good morning. Are you there?
Yeah, good morning, Morayo.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning. You guys are doing a wonderful program. I want to align myself with what Funmi Iyanda is saying. I agree totally with her. You guys are doing a wonderful program.
Thank you very much.
Give it up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Taiwo. Yes,
so I wanted to place a question on 2 tweets. One was talking about every TV presenter in Nigeria today, at certain radio stations where they must have an accent. They must sound,
American.
Even if it's the lowest level of the UK, must close to, try near him. Try near him. Then Ademola is also talking about saying that you should advise young girls in Nigeria who have lost their morals as Nigerian girls and are emulating Western values and losing everything our society owes for them to grow. So who is a Nigerian girl? What is morally right in Nigeria? Is it different from what is morally right any other place in the world? Is there a difference, and what exactly?
I think we live in our own world. This is the kind of thing that they also say in the UK to their own young people too. I think that we should stop patronizing young people. You know, it's not fair on them. To start with. And I also don't understand why he's saying I should advise young girls. Can I also not advise young boys? You know? So what is all these boxes we try and put people in? The things I'm saying are valid for all human beings, I think. And I understand where he's coming from, where he's thinking we'll automatically talk to girls, but I think we should all talk to one another. We should talk to boys, you know, because I think that boys also suffer. I think we put on due pressure on boys to be manly.
Don't cry.
Like they don't cry. You go and be the one providing. You go and slave. I mean, you as a mother of a son, if you thought about that, all your son will be doing with his life is slaving over some woman who doesn't want to pull her own weight. You won't like it too now. No, that sort of thing. So, and why have we taught men that is acceptable? You know. And it's like when I say I'm not married, does it mean, have I said I'm not in a relationship? Does it say I don't get on with men? You know, we have to ask a lot of questions and unpack a lot of things in our mind. So what he has said, you know, yes, let's not legislate on morality. Because morality is a fluid concept. What you consider to be moral, does the other person consider it to be moral? We have to decide on the things that affect us as a society, that helps us get away from desperation. Because when people become desperate, they behave in ways that are not in the best.
That's where we are. Hassan. Hassan, are you there? Thanks for calling.
I'm there, Morayo.
Go ahead, please.
It seems you are really enjoying this course with her to the extent of being carried away. Please, Morayo. There's one thing. Let me start with the law angle of it. Exception does not dispute the rule. In communication, being natural is the basic. But the problem we are having in this part of the world is that we are fake people. People that speak with foreign accent knew that the audience are always carried away by that foreign accent because they are fake. Under communication, they want you to be natural. A white man, what the white man is always concerned about is that, look, this man is speaking English. You understand? The meaning, it does not diminish the meaning, but you know that this is English spoken by a Yoruba man or English spoken by a Swahili. You understand? But this issue of being fake is much more originated by us. And with the people around us. Right. So we should take note of that. Okay. Right. We should be natural in our spoken word. Right. It will not take away anything from us. Good morning.
Thank you very much. I would like to put a blame.
She actually mentioned that bit. You know, I think the point we need to emphasize is that this should be about communication. Yeah, very important. Because I listen also to a lot of those things and I switch off mentally. After a while, because you know those accents don't exist anywhere in the world, so they're not communicating.
And Twitter.
Yeah, and so I mean they don't. It's because they think that's how it's pressure. I think it will change.
Pressure as well.
Yeah, it will change.
I can put a bit of blame of that on you. Let me tell you why. Because we need to see more of you. You see, if you're as visible as we'd like you to be, maybe people can understand and appreciate the path you're on and say, you know what? I'd rather just be like Funmi Iyanda. This is too much work trying to be like what I'm not. This is who I want to be. But in those days, you were there. We saw you. We all aspired.
I think you left us too early.
Yeah, I think so. You left the screen too early because you were building up a generation of young women who were actually
live her own life.
No, that's the
you are saying she should sacrifice
I'm
for
not asking
you.
her to sacrifice. I'm just saying that we need to see more of her.
She's explained why she had to leave the screen.
Which is clear.
So, and in her own mind and maybe her daughter, she did it just in time.
Well, I'd like to hear her thoughts on this. Do you think...
So please don't blame her.
Okay.
So I like that you said this. And that goes back to the issue of leadership.
Right.
One person, one person does not make the forest. Right. I expected that there would be more
of you.
And they will take the baton and carry forward.
Thank you.
So it's the same thing where we have our leaders. We deify them. After a while, we're like, only this Oga must be there. Only Oga knows how to do it. That is not true. That is not true. And true leadership means that you also have to create new people. Yes. You understand? And I did that. The whole of this current media space in Nigeria, I'm conscious of this, that a lot of them are Funmi Iyanda, disciples or people who were inspired by her.
Right.
And you see me speak about Funmi Iyanda in the third party because I also sometimes pull myself back so that I can stay grounded as a human being. You know, so, and back to the issue of marriage and all of that again, what you are saying is also you are outsourcing responsibility. You know, so this generation also have to create their own Funmi Iyandas. They have to create the new being. You understand? You know, and that's what we're talking about, whether it is marriage or a country or any other thing. You as a human being must take responsibility for yourself to start
Exactly,
with.
that's the beginning.
And then also, we must not unduly outsource everything to the one leader. There is no one, there's only Olodumare.
Exactly.
There's a supreme intelligence and a supreme being.
Exactly.
And we are all elements of that supreme being. And that creative energy is in all of us. Refusing to use it is a disservice to the Olodumare.
Okay.
On a lighter note, I'm very jealous of you.
She's not aging, Abi.
See how slim she is now? And I've been telling her this for the past 20 years. I'm very jealous of her. And I've seen her the way she is pounded yam.
Seriously?
These jeans, YK. Don't compare yourself to her. Let me take this call before we lose this call. Good morning. Are you there?
Good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
You and HIV, envy, I always enjoy it.
Sorry, having trouble hearing you.
I want to ask you concerning Nigeria.
Thank you. I thought I had to enjoy it.
Yes. As Nigerians in this climb, how do we engage our government more? You know, I'm here. I thank God I have a platform to speak truth to power, talk about the issues plaguing the society. But the average Nigerian doesn't have that same platform. Their voice isn't heard, and they feel like, what can I do beyond voting? So you've been around, and you've seen good and bad. Can you help sensitize us a bit more to how best to react and relate with our leaders, and what kind of expectations should we place on them at the moment?
I think that we should start organizing from grassroots level. I remember when I was doing talk with Funmi and traveling around Nigeria, and I was in a village in Ondo, and there was this man, I remember him very well, Ebenezer, who had such, you know, he was so good, speaking Yoruba to me, great organizational skill, great magnetic personality. And then I asked him, you people don't even have a toilet here. What will it take for you to organize, dig a hole to even start with? And why are you not the councillor here? Why have you not put yourself forward? Why have you not done this? You know, so because when the country was organized, remember once again, we were thinking them and us. We still have that mentality. We have to understand that them is also us. So I think that Nigerians have to organize on school level, church level, mosque level, village level, street level. You know, because that's actually what a democracy is. If we want to practice a democracy, we have to organize and put pressure from ground up. You know, the reason why they do the things they do is because nobody really challenges them. You know, challenging is not until you get on the street and you start fighting one another. No, it's from how does this work? Why is this not there? Okay, no, we're going, and within the law, there are we don't engage with our nation. Until we engage and once again, that is responsibility that we are putting on one another here. Nigerians are waiting for a messiah, and that's why every time, every circle, we try and elect a messiah. And so when somebody sounds like they're saying that we want to elect them, everybody is a messiah.
You know, I totally agree, because everybody is a human being with his own problems. So you are saying, oh, look, I get it. They say, you fella children, you're not like fella. Oh, until we go to jail, before you know that we are like fella. Oh, you are looking for who will go to jail for you. Come on.
Let me take this call.
Fella already did everything.
Why should I now go to jail? Let me take this call from Yakub. He's been holding for a while. Yakub, are you there?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, Morayo, I'm very, very happy that Mr. Funmi is here in the studio. I can see he's a very, very intelligent woman. And then my own take home today from this program is that when Mr. Funmi mentioned that until we, Nigerians, call our father, being a senator, being a president, being a vice president, out of representative, speak our own different dialect to them. As he said in the studio that F1B, a change, you need to change. If because if you don't take our responsibility in our hands, we are waiting for Messiah, as you rightly said earlier. The Messiah will never come until we make them to be that Messiah that we really need. Right. If a rep can pass a bill whereby you make sure that the person that takes HP is dead by hanging, what stop that same rep or that same senator? Make a corruption a capital offense in this country. So we need to take our responsibility by our hand, as Mr. Funmi said, that we need to call them, speak our dialect. I need that to change.
Hashtag A1B. Thank you very much. All right, then go ahead.
Nigerians, the way I see Nigerians, I think we like to be comfortable. For us, it's about survival. But once I'm eating, I'm fine. Whether my neighbor is eating is not my concern. So I live in a place where I see government failing every hour, not even daily. Every hour, government institution failing. Right now, I'm going to start a new one on Loma. I want to face Loma deliberately. I'm putting together my pictures already. And I see government failing. And when I engage people who are in their comfort zones, people who live in the Keja, in the high brow areas, what they tell me is, move. Why are you there? You want to die there?
You're shouting too much.
Why you're just ranting every day you talk about. Don't you get tired? I'll be like, okay, that's me. In Lagos, for instance, we're about 20 million people. That area alone covers about 7 to 8 million people. If I move and the situation persists, does it change the lives of the people? Why are we
engaging the people in other places? Why?
No. This is me using my platform to talk about that. They now coming to me to say, we heard you, why are you not moving? Yeah. Is moving going to make government change what is happening there? Or what exactly are we supposed to do as Nigerians? Because in my thinking, I'm doing the right thing. And then someone says, what's it all?
It's like them attacking you for going to the UK, that you left us. You just left us.
Oh, they say so. And I understand where it comes from, and I have empathy and love for it. I also don't take responsibility anymore for other people's
feelings.
Yeah, you should face up to your own responsibility.
Exactly.
And I think that, I think we leave behind the majority of Nigerians. I think oftentimes we as elite, we talk to one another. I go around this country and all I see are, the most gorgeous people are the everyday people. The other day I was watching these men, bringing yams from the east. Number one, the yam is fantastic. And then the men, and I'm like, nobody hears these people. Nobody talks to them. Nobody organizes them.
You keep saying organizing.
We have to organize not only ourselves, we have to organize where are the proper market women associations, the nurses, the doctors, the people selling things on the streets. I saw the other day that people were now selling, they will have the jollof rice with the meat in a bowl, selling it in traffic. Yes. Do you know the amount of enterprise it takes for you to do that? And I'm thinking that is energy we ought to harness. But we look at these people and we dismiss them. Why is there not those people coming together when somebody wants to break a market? Then you come together and you're like, you cannot do this because you see, we really do need to be able to make a living. Right. If we don't make a living, the people in government need us to engage them. And it doesn't become, it's not when you now go and carry placard just so that you want them to now say to you and your group. But if you are like a larger concerned group, it becomes a different thing.
What is holding from Kano? Good morning, are you there? Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Yes, calling from Kano.
Yes. First time caller. Welcome to the show.
Wow, I'm so happy to see you. It's been a long time.
We miss you.
So very good to see you. I want to say you guys are doing a wonderful show. And on that topic, I want to say that it's actually true. There's something that actually struck me. He said we should stop seeing ourselves as being different from the actual people who lead us. So I want to say that this dignity actually matters. This is able to prove ourselves.
I'm having trouble here. I'm so sorry. But because we have to round up soon, I need you to tell us what you're working on because I know you have a movie coming up. Could you tell us about that, please?
It premiered yesterday in Lagos, and I was really happy to see it because all the 5 screens were full.
Oh, wow.
People to see. It's an adaptation of Judibia's book, Walking with Shadows, which he wrote in 2005, which we started working on. I mean, in 2010, I took a decision that I was going to go into films.
Right.
And, you know, this is the first in a series that I would be doing. And the kind of films I want to do are the ones that force conversations that we should be having about different things. I mean, I really encourage people to see this film because I don't want to, like, be
Can you tell us about it?
But it was a man who was discovered, who was outed as maybe, what's the word now? As maybe he's had relationship with men too. And how his life fell apart. And how he had to confront himself, confront his family. His wife had to confront. You know, it was like a life falling apart before you. And
I would love to watch that film.
And what do you do? So
I
that's
would
what
love to watch it.
Yes.
Not banned. How they won't ban it?
No, when you see, because when people hear it, that's why I say we see it,
Yeah.
because it's a very Niger story.
Okay.
We told it in a way that you know that this is about asking one another hard questions. You know, I'm also the one who's done this kind of topics before in Nigeria. And it's the way you have conversations with people. I think that one of the reasons why people don't want to have that conversation in Nigeria is that it's like you're talking at us. Rather, we're talking with ourselves.
Fantastic.
You know, and if we change the dynamics, then it becomes a different ball game.
Let me take Reverend Dominic now, come to you. Reverend Dominic, are you there?
Good morning.
Morning, sir. Thanks for calling.
Long time.
I greet my friend Yeni.
He's always on TM.
Long time, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, no.
Good morning.
Ladies, most of the time when you see people on tube or the television or on movie, they become super role model. I don't agree with it. Funmi have become a super role model because she has gone through the rudiment of broadcasting and show a character. One day I was with her in the flight coming from Dubai. I wanted to go and touch her, but I don't want to embarrass myself because I wanted to touch the superstar I see in the tube every day. You know, we came down early morning in the morning, so that's 2010 to 11, very long time now. That lady is a super role model. She's a real African woman.
Totally agree with you. Thank you so much.
In all her dealings, she didn't want to compromise her body like women do to achieve all you want to achieve. That's a real African woman.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. Thank you very much. Compromising your body.
Dominic.
Let me come to that. Let me listen.
Yeah, I wanted to take some as well.
T-Girl says, I'm in awe of this woman at Funmi Iyanda. Funmilola, she's one who has developed herself and is confident in herself because she has discovered herself. Engineer Wolek says, talking about marriage, and I don't want to take that. BGN Photography says, Funmi Iyanda should have a seminar for people in media. And I think you should change this accent.
Bilikis says, you have set the pace, Auntie Funmi. You are the pioneer of what we are watching today. # your view. Thank you, ma, for opening the doors. PJ Comedian says, yes, so Auntie Funmi, they're making sense since 1900. I've always loved and still love to watch her speaking. Nice show, ladies.
Babatunde Alabi says, Funmi Iyanda has made me that undiluted Nigerian man and woman, and she's strong and self-accepting.
And Short Gauge says, Funmilola is the first person I've seen that has accurately and publicly articulated the Nigerian condition. Mass PTSD from the extractive epoch of slavery, colonialism, military dictatorship, and civilian rule on a subjugated population. Bravo, sis.
Okay, fantastic. Let's go to your movie now. What cinemas? Where has it been shown? Everywhere?
So now, you know, it goes, the circuit we've gone is first the festival circle. So it was shown at the London Film Festival. You know, you have to be deserving to be selected in the first place. So it was really good for us to have got that. And it was also shown at AFRIP. So now it's with the sales agent. They are going to do their work because we already have interest in cinemas outside of Nigeria, which was interesting. But for me, I want Nigerians to see it. So I'm hoping that we will get a mixture of the VODs and the cinemas for people to be able to see.
Let me take... it's not in any cinema in Nigeria yet.
It was just released.
Let me take this call from Ajibola has been holding. Ajibola, are you there?
Oh, yes.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Good morning, Morayo.
Good morning, sir.
Great ladies in the house.
Thank you.
You are all supermodels.
Thank you.
You know, I like what Funmi Iyanda is talking about. You know, we blacks, we are the cradle of humanity. We've lost our identities. We've lost our uniqueness. So some of us didn't really know who we are. So sometimes we copy some foreign attitudes. And we forget that in Africa is where we can get it right, even for the world to see. Well, some of the thing I see is that when we copy, we lost our identity. Look at Funmi, what Funmi has done. And somehow it has spread across board up till this moment. And as she said, even as this your view, is still breeding some future generations. You may not know. That by and large, I just like you people.
Thank you very much, Ajo. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nima, sweet.
So Maureen says, good morning, ladies. I miss the New Dawn. I'm an avid watcher of the New Dawn. For me, please, can you talk on the high rate of mental issues, which is worrisome due to so many reasons, especially among young people now, and how it can be addressed? And you have a way of tackling issues that I like. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a big one. It's a difficult world we are living in. And it's not just in Nigeria, it's a global thing that's going on. I mean, one of the unfortunate repercussions of social media is the pressure on people to always be performing, to be out there, to be seen, to be happy, to be seen, to be rich, to be seen, you know, and that's not life. We go through phases in life, phases where omilowo, you know, it flows. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it might not be there. That's where your community is supposed to be there to support you. You know, but we have forced people into this performing monkey role. It will have an effect. And they're having to do this for younger and younger. Where, you know, young people, when I was growing up, it didn't matter whether, you know, I mean, you had pressure amongst yourself, but then you didn't have a large audience to put pressure on you. So I think that we are going to, there's a lot of, and particularly in Nigeria, because with the institutions we had traditionally for supporting people are not as strong as they used to be. So now the institutions that we have got from westernization, you know, like the hospitals and the mental health places are also not strong. So we're left in a place where do people go to? Right. You know, they go to churches, but sometimes the churches are not enough. Because you need the distance, you need family support. So we have a lot of work to do in Nigeria. That's how I say it. And when you have a lot of work to do, it's not, there are two reactions, to hide away or to stride forward. And I think it's time for us to start to stride forward, you know, because nobody is going to come and save us. We are going to have to save ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. So, looking at Nigeria now, would you want to come back to TV? Would you want to bring your ideas, your face, and be on air, sharing your opinions? Do you intend to do that in any form?
So, I mean, I'm done with sharing opinions generally. And for me, I was issues that I always wanted to do. I mean, there are some things I might want to do. Television itself has changed, so the platforms is diffused more. But what I would want to do, and I think that might happen, is I would like to bring people, institutions, and governments together to come to a position of understanding, almost like an ombudsman, like, oh yeah, everybody, hold it. So let us have sense together. So this thing that happened yesterday, you know, when we read the news oftentimes, we don't add context and history. This thing that happened yesterday, that you think, oh, this person just hates me. You know, if you now add context and history that, okay, this one that you said yesterday, this is what this person too was thinking, this is what happened, and you have evidence. You know, so people can sit back and say, hey, that's what's going on. Then you call the person who's meant to have done something about that. Oh yeah, bros and auntie, this is your agency. What happened here? Because oftentimes, I also talk to people in government, they're like, either they don't know, or they themselves feel attacked, or they are also afraid to lose their jobs. So if you have a platform where people know that there's no agenda other than let us solve our problem, then we now say, okay, now that you know, what do you think can be done? Let us agree together. You know, what can be done? And so if we come to an agreement, when are you going to do it?
Yeah, something like that happened on this show last week when they brought in the people of Nima's area and the guy in charge of works or something, you know, and it was like a dialogue kind of thing.
Exactly.
And hopefully they will do something about the area. I don't know, but we will still, I'm sure, if they don't do, you know, and I totally agree with you. If we bring dialogue between, not the kind of, they do one township, what
town hall meeting, they're talking down on people.
Meeting. Yeah, it's the Oga comes and says, yes, this is this.
High table.
And, you know, that's not it. It's everybody being equal.
We have to wrap up.
Because the point is, we're all equal in the eyes of Eledumare.
Yes.
It's Eledumare matter. Okay, that's the.
That's the. And you know, talking about looking down. That's how they look down on me because I live in Alagbole. They don't know that.
Nobody dares to look down on the great Yeni.
Thank you. Thank them.
We should put her in the museum.
But we have to. I think we should also put you in the museum.
Yes.
Yes, because I have to. This show, one of the things that inspired this show initially was The View in the US and Oprah, but I moved home in 2004. And when I moved home, I saw the energy that New Dawn had in the society, and I fell in love with you, and you depicted everything I wanted to be. Like somebody who was real, down to earth, no airs. What you see is what you get. And I guess I attracted the same bunch of people because that's how we all are on this table. We don't have airs around. You see us, what you see is what you get. And you really inspired us. And we watch you, we love you.
I would like to see more of you. Can you imagine?
I want to see more of you. You got to see more because, you see, when we see you, then we know that we're on the right track. Because there's so much pressure to be the other people. And
I'm home now.
Now that you're home.
I can say that to you.
Yes.
I am home now.
Fantastic.
I'm back home. I'm done with that level of child raising. My daughter is off to university. The company in the UK is strong. It has somebody who is strong, who is holding forth there. So I can come home.
Fantastic. She's home now! Honestly, thank you.
And yes, and I hope you come to this show more often.
Yes, we'd love to have you.
We have a large platform, as you can see. And people like you need to inspire people like
all of us.
Them. I'm removing myself from there because you and I are on the same page. You know,
both of you need to inspire us.
It's just me against them. So they talk me down. If I have someone like you, at least.
Does anybody talk like you? I can just rely on breakfast TV.
Unfortunately, we have to run up. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
Have a fabulous day. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.